Maz is okay. So come, let's talk. People, share the stream, share the stream. Let's talk. And let me know where you're joining me from. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, that's so will be. Uh, so let's. What's happening? I thought I'm live. Oh, okay.
You will need photo ID to vote on the 1st of May.
So where are you joining me from?
Apply for free voter ID now.
Share, share. Come, guys, let's talk. IBB Book of Revelation,
They say that if you love someone,
1966 coup, not an Igbo coup.
well,
Gowon, it is your turn. It is Gowon's turn to write his own book. 1966 coup. So 1966 coup is not an Igbo coup. It is the time, it is Gowon's time to write his own book. So people, this morning I want to quickly share with us um, the book launch that was done by General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. Many of you may have seen the video. We got an invite to attend that event, but it was, I would say, too late. Couldn't make the logistic arrangement too. But to be honest with you, I personally missed nothing. But there is something that is out of that book. There is something that's obviously has happened, and it is quite revealing. For the unperturbed time, we are seeing where, like in this book, Awo on the Nigerian Civil War. I bought this book, and I want to read an excerpt from this book for you before I come to that. What Awo said in this book. Can I find it quickly? Even if you look at MCK Ajuluchukwu, who wrote the forewords in this book, Awo clearly, quickly, let me find that part. Oh, well, I thought I marked it. I not be me they do like this. I'll find it. But in this book, Awo, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, clearly wrote that he believed that those who committed the 1966 coup did it to save him, or rather to make him the head of state or the president, as it were then. But in Babangida's book, which I also have read the soft copy, don't ask me why I'm laughing. But let me give you an excerpt here. I'm not talking about the soft copy. This copy, this is see. So this is not a soft copy. This is the original copy. So don't, before some of you start accusing me of stuff. Let me read to you in the page here, page 39. In case if you have that book, you can read with me. And it clearly states, at the top, it says, a young officer and a gentleman. So General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, who is now over 80 years old and who can no longer walk, he is, immobile and is in a wheelchair. General Ibrahim Babangida is telling us in the book that was launched yesterday that in his book he's telling us this. Hold on, let me make it bolder. My eye. Okay. And let me read the excerpt from his book for you. Pay attention here. Elsewhere, as a young officer who saw all this from a distance, probably ethnic sentiment did not drive the original objective of the coup plotters. Referencing himself, his perception of Kaduna Nzogu. Who bought that name, Kaduna? Not out of omission. We'll continue. For instance, General Ibrahim Babangida continued. The head of the plotters, Major Kaduna Nzogu, was only Igbo. In name, was only Igbo. In name. Not me right na Kaduna Buhari, Badamasi Babangida is writing this. Born and raised in Kaduna, you see, that's why his name is also Kaduna. His immigrant parents were from Opana in today's Delta State, which in 1966 was in the old Western region. People, does that make sense? In the old Western region, the Opana, which is Delta, is not part, was not, and is not part of Biafra. So sometimes, reason why these things must be said over and over and over and over again is for those who do not, if something is not sinking in your brain, so that we knock it in your brain, right? And he continues. Nzogu spoke fluent Hausa and was as Hausa as any of them, meaning he was more Hausa than Igbo. Many of us who have lived in a place and brought our children there, you find out that our children speak more language of the place they were born than yours. I have children who were born, who my friends have children who were born in Germany. They speak German more than English. Same applies to those born in France, sorry. Same applies those Igbo people born in Lagos or Ibadan. Same applies. Some of my friends, while I lived in Umahia, these children spoke Igbo Coup more than they can understand Hausa. In my own house, my security guards are from Adamawa State. The children were born in Anambra State. Three of them. I take care of them like my own kids. These children speak Igbo that my own children cannot even compete and contend with. These children, their thinking is Igbo, their action is Igbo, everything about them is Igbo. But their parents are from Adamawa. Now, when these children probably does something, and you then catapult these children to blame the people of Adamawa, people will get to wake up. Let me continue. General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida continued. Nzogu spoke fluent Hausa and was as Hausa as any of them. He and his original team probably thought, even if naively, he is now making excuses for them, that they could turn things around for the better in the country. Meaning, even if they were naive, even if when they thought, I've said it in this platform that the 1966 coup was the most stupidest and silliest coup ever. It was silly. There was no need. Forget even when they were trying to do it to secure Awo, that Awo himself wrote in this book. There is need to read This is a Awo's book. Because of these things, one has to read this. I ordered 17 of. I give it to Awo. Awo, I respect him. He's a prolific writer, one of the best writers in very simplistic language. And I mean, I wish I can get into his habit that when he thinks something, he pens it down. This is another of his book, Adventures in Power, My March Through Prison. He also Nigeria. Anyway, let me come back to this. And I repeat here again, he said, he and his original team probably thought, even if naively, they could turn things around for the better in the country. That said, it was disingenuously callous for Nzogu to have murdered Sir Ahmadu Bello and his wife, Hasaftu. And I agree with him. Wake me up 10 million times. I will tell you that that coup was not necessary. That coup set us back. That coup planted, the enemies of Nigeria used this to plant ethnic tension, ethnic divide in Nigeria, right? However, even the killing of Sir Ahmadu Bello was needless. Even when he was not armed, even when he begged, even when the woman, the wife begged, it was callous, it was needless. There is no, I would never support evil. It was needless to have killed him. There was no need. And I repeat again, he said that said, it was heinously callous for Nzogu to have murdered Sir Ahmadu Bello and his wife, Hasatu, because not only were they eminently adored by many, but also because they were said not to have put up a fight. From the moment that putsch, that means that coup, that putsch, in this case German, P-U-T-S-C-H, and or rather, as we call it in German, we say Putsch, Militärputsch in a Putsch. Es gab noch in Nigeria in dem Jahr 1966 ein Militärputsch, wobei der ehemalige Stadt Oberhead getötet wurde. Yeah? So in this case, there was a military putsch that was putsch infiltrated by outsiders. Sorry, I take this again. From that moment, the putsch was infiltrated by outsiders to his supposed original intention, and it took on an unmistakably ethnic coloration compounded by the fact that there were no related coup activities in eastern region. Now, the opera who was in the eastern region, nothing happened to him because he had a visit of what's his name again? The white man from Greece. His name escaped me. Anyway, he had a visitor. So they didn't want to kill him with the visitor. That is now story. But to the many, it will appear that it was intentional. But by every account of it, it was not intentional. Now, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida goes ahead to say, it should, however, be borne in mind that some senior officers of Igbo extractions were also victims of the 1966 January coup. For instance, he is now talking about his own friend, so it's not abstract. These are people they know. He said, for instance, my erstwhile commander at the Renaissance Squadron in Kaduna, Lieutenant Colonel Ato Chinyelu Unebu, was brutally gunned down by his own brother, Major Chris Anuforo, in the presence of his pregnant wife. Shit. at his 7-point road residence in Apapa for merely being a threat to the revolution. As a disciplined and strict officer who, as the Quartermaster General of Army, was also in charge of ammunition, weapon, equipment, vehicle, and other vital items for the army. The coup plotters feared that he might not cooperate with them. It should also be remembered that some non-Igbo officers like Major Adewale Ademoyega, Captain Ganiyu Adeleke, Lieutenant Fola Oyewole, and Olaminhen took part in the failed coup. Another officer of Igbo extraction, Major John Obienu, crushed the coup. Did you hear that? Another officer of Igbo extraction crushed the coup. At another point, too, Lieutenant Ojukwu also helped in crushing the coup, stopped the coup. Why do we only take one side? These men planned. Nobody, Ndi Igbo did not tell Nzogwu to go and plan a coup. Neither did Ndi Igbo tell Ojukwu and Obienu to go and crush the coup too. They didn't. These were military activities. Nobody sent them. Nobody, forced them to do what they did. They did that on their own. Those who argue that original intention of the coup plotters was anything but ethnic refer to the fact that the initial purpose of the plotter of the coup plot was to release Chief Obafemi Awolowo from prison. Look at it here. Read the last part, the last paragraph. It was to release Obafemi Awolowo from prison. Oh, I forgot now. Obafemi Awolowo is from Anambra State. His father is from Ihial, and his mother is from Nobi. That's what it is. Why do we have to take military activities, military exercises? It's just like, I hate to say these things. When politicians do things and we try to insinuate and give ethnic colorations to what the politicians have done, if Tinubu takes some policy decisions that is, as a politician, that's what he believes in, why do I have to idiotically ascribe that to be a Yoruba decision? Does he speak for the Yorubas? Did the Yorubas send him? Did the Yorubas rig the election for him? Did the Yorubas, did the bullion van for him to go win the election? He won that election on his own merit. Please, we cannot and we should not ascribe his victory to the Yorubas in that sense, and at the same time, his actions to reflect the Yoruba actions. He won in his own way. Many of you say he rigged his way into power. I mean, now you talk and not me. DSS, take note. But anyway, so when you read these things like this, then there is another part. It goes on at another part in that book. General Badamasi Ibrahim Babangida said the following. Let me share with us. I think, yes, last night we actually shared that in the community section here. General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida said this, that, in quotes, I said that General Yakubu Gowon, that is the former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon's failure to secure and protect the lives and properties of the Igbos in the north forced Colonel Emeka Ojukwu to declare the secession of the eastern region from Nigeria in May 1967, leading to the Fratrical Nigerian Biafran War. When we talk about program, you can Google it yourself. Let it not be that I am the one that's telling you. When you talk about program has happened in Nigeria over and over. The first program in Nigeria, let me quickly do this. Let me see if I can find where I saved it. Sorry, quickly bear with me. While you're bearing with me, please like, share, and subscribe. Only 10 people they like now, but we have over close to 100 and how many people? 120 and there, and only 10 people they like now. Kilo Shelle. Okay. So please like now. Like only 11 people. Okay. Quickly. Why not they behave like this? Anyway, either way. What was this confession now by evil? Well, okay. No. Let me make this thing to us. If you go to chat GPT now, you can actually ask the history of the Igbo program in Nigeria. You will see it. It's not, so that when people say this, it's not about the 1966 program. In 1954, there was no Nigeria in 1954. Yet in Plateau Jos, there was a program. In 1953, there was no Nigeria. Yet in Plateau Jos, there was a program. The question is why? The records of program against the Igbo took place in Jos in 1945 when ethnic violence erupted, leading to the killing of many Igbo residents and the destruction of their properties. This was followed by another major riot in Kano in 1953, where Igbos were once again targeted due to rising ethnic political tension between the north and the southern region. Between the north and the southern region. So you recall that whenever there is this issue of conflict between people of the south that included sometimes some part of the southwest and majorly some south. Whenever this occurs, the Igbos normally bear the brunt, right? Again, in 1966, this is the one that Ibrahim Babangida is now referring to. The most devastating program against Ndi Igbo occurred in 1966 following the January 15 coup, which was perceived as being led by Igbo officers. The coup, which resulted in the assassination of several northern leaders and western leaders, was followed by a counter coup of July 1966, led by northern officers who saw it as an Igbo-led conspiracy. This triggered widespread massacre of Igbos living in northern Nigeria. Between May 1966, between May and October 1966, thousands of Igbos were killed across northern Nigeria in what became known as the 1966 program. Estimates suggest that between 30,000 to 50,000 Igbos were killed, and over 1 million were forced to flee back to their regions. If you go back to 1966 to 1967, obviously these are the things you will learn. The question is, it is becoming obvious because when I read this part yesterday, I started to ask myself, so Gowon was in that book launch. He was there when I don't know whether he has read that book, but some comments were made. And I was thinking, up till now, Gowon has not written any book. While I'm also disappointed at Ojukwu for not writing a book. But this narrative fits the conspiracy that both Gowon and Ojukwu are running away from telling Nigerians or the telling the world what clearly happened in that. In the book, because I was involved, that wasn't any autobiography. There, there was no place where that book clearly said this is the, things that we know as those that led that war. It wasn't clearly there. But given that Ojukwu, the way he died was sudden because he had stroke. So, and he didn't recover from that stroke the moment he was flown out of Enugu with air ambulance to Berkshire, what's it called? Royal Berkshire Hospital in Reading, United Kingdom. Flown there, he never recovered. So you could see that, well, maybe because out of the sudden way it happened, and I think it was less than, I think about 77, if my memory serves me right. He died at the age of 77. So maybe you could have taken him by surprise, thinking, oh, I still had time. But Gowon, I don't know if Gowon is now up to 90. Let me check. Yakubu Gowon knows that everybody, Yakubu Gowon, Yakubu Gowon, born October 30th, 1934. So Yakubu Gowon turned 90 October last year. In the next couple of months, in the next 10 months, Yakubu Gowon, in the next 8 months, Yakubu Gowon will be 91. Was I surprised that we lost an eminent elder like Baya Adebanjo? No, because he was 95. Was I surprised one bit that we lost Pa Edwin Clark? No, he's 90 something. For Christ's sake, if I get up to 85, is anybody surprised that I die? Yeah. Because you can go anytime. Would I be surprised that if I wake up tomorrow, I hear that Tanko Yakasai, for instance, Pa Tanko Yakasai is no longer there? Why would I? The man is 97. And these are, how time flies. These are men during the COVID. We all were, I was basically interviewing all of them. And so when these men in their 90s, anyone who said, oh, in my 90s and I didn't still write my memoir, then something is wrong. So what should worry everybody now, and to Gowon himself, in case he ever gets to see this video, is to say, Gowon, why are you not writing your own truth? What happened? What transpired? What role did you play in the July 1966 coup? You've been accused of several things in that coup. What tied your hand between end of January till July, or rather from July till the war broke? What tied your hand? What happened when after the Aburi Accord that certain agreements were made that these things were not agreed upon? Because these things, people, you see, we can't make so much progress as a nation if we cannot openly and frankly talk about these things, where apology from anybody ought to be made. Of course, go ahead and say the apology. And recall that when our brothers from across the River Niger were complaining about certain things that happened in the past, I recall that when Nyamodo was elected the President General for Hanese and Igbo, in one of the events, I believe the New Yam Festival, in his first year in office, he had to tender apology to our brothers and sisters across the River Niger. That was right thing to do. If we are saying that we're expecting Britain and America to, at some point, apologize to the Black nation and probably pay restitutions for the evil of slavery, if we are saying that, then why can't we, in this day and age, look at where mistakes were made and say, people, I'm sorry. Hate Badamasi Babangida, like him. He has done his own bit. He's I mean he's good. The only thing, and some of you can accuse him, is that why did he wait so long until those who could counter some of the things he wrote here were dead? Professor Bissing, Professor Humphrey Mosu is no longer here. So, but incidentally, when we go back and look at even the June 12 result, you see, that was an election. You can see that, I can post the result that is at the back of his book. But before I do, let me quickly rail out the result where might be interesting to you. Oh, sorry. This is the result here, right? This is the June 12th result. Now, then we had one. We didn't have 36 states. The June 12th result, you can see, honestly, that was an election that was what you call close call. The lowest any of the parties got was, I think, is 20%, and that was in Sokoto, and that was Tofa. Even even people of sorry. No, the lowest result that any of the parties got was in, I think that was Abuja, that had 19,968, or was it Yobe? Sorry, that was Yobe that had 11,887, and that was Yobe voted. Yobe voted Tofa. Yobe didn't vote for Tofa; they voted for Abiola, right? But even at that, if you look at the percentage margin, the margin of win, the margin of win is normally, you look at 30 something percent, 63%. There was no area except Oyo, Osun, Ondo, Ogun, then Lagos, that any of the election had over 80%. It was only in these states of Oyo, Osun, Ondo, Ogun, Lagos, that Abiola had over 80%, that is 83, 85%. And that pushes us to something. If you just oppose this result, hand in hand with the 2023 result, you find out something very glaring. In many states, you have like going to the far extreme of one candidate, and the other side, you have far extreme of voting one candidate. There is nowhere that Tofa had that level of voting. Having said this, it took General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida 32 years, I believe. Yeah, 1980, sorry, 93, 93, 23, 23 years, right? To come back and ask Nigerians and to tell Nigerians that Abiola actually won that election, even when General Muhammad Buhari had already done the needful a couple of years back. But it's somehow refreshing to see that he can come and confess his sins and say that this man actually won the election. But even in that confession, he was still blaming it on Abacha. He still didn't, take full responsibility. He was still blaming it on others. Right? So when we say these things, you ask, okay, he can be forgiven because he's now giving the younger generations, the future generations, the history of what happened. We can now see where to blame him. We can now see where these things cannot happen again. But the question that he poses to General Yakubu Gowon that is still striking and still worrying is, why did Gowon not do everything possible to protect the people of the Eastern region? Because when we talk about the people of the Eastern region, then it will be very disingenuous to say only the Igbo people. No, it wasn't the only the Igbo people. You have the people of Calabar. You have the people of Akwa Ibom today. You have the people of Rivers. You have the people of Cross Rivers. You have, everyone. You have the people of Delta. Because Isoko, Wari, Urobo, Ishekiri, Ijo, everybody was in there. Everybody was among these people that were, being hit so hard. Yakubu Gowon, why are you not waking up to write your own history? History is his story. Tell us your story. We want to know because you're an active participant where over 2 million lives were lost. If you combine both the program, 19, July 1966 till January 1970, it was an unbelievable time, really unbelievable time. And let me shock us more as to what General Babangida said in his book. If I go to the whole book, I'll turn to page 39. Where is the book again? Page 39, quickly. Let me get page 39. Page 39. So I'm just trying to open, page. No, this is not it. So while you're watching me, please, if you don't mind, please click on the like, share, and subscribe button. A Journey into Service. A Journey into Service. That's the book written by General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. The excerpt I read to us before was page 39. Page 39. Let me the man obviously was looking young. That's him here. All right. Let me a young officer and a gentleman. These are the things he wrote about Nzogu. A young officer and a gentleman. That's what he called him, a young officer and a gentleman. Nzogu was a gentleman, but I think he made the gravest mistake to executing that coup, that I believe that coup was not necessary. Okay, now let me read this for us. Okay, let me read this for us here. And it says here, the part I stopped was those who argued no. Let me go back a little bit and take this from here. It should also be remembered that those who do sorry. It should also be remembered that some non-Igbo officers, like Major Adewale Ademoyega, Captain Ganiyu Adeleke, Lieutenant Fola Oyewale, and Olamingham, took part in the failed coup. Another officer of Igbo extraction, John Obienu, crushed the coup. Now, I googled about John Obienu last night. I found out that a barrack is actually named after him. Then I asked myself, why are we not hearing much about him. We only hear about others, but this is a man who stopped the coup. We don't hear much about him. We must help in recreating our own history. Therefore, probably we have to try to dig more and talk more about him. And he continued here, people. Those who argue that the original intention of the coup plotters was anything but ethnic refer to the fact that the initial purpose of that plot of the plotters was to release Obafemi Awolowo from prison immediately after the coup and make him the executive provisional president of Nigeria. The fact that these Igbo officers who do this to a the fact that these Igbo officers would do this to a man not known to be a great lover of Igbo may have given the plotters a different ethnic coloration. Did you get that part? The fact that these officers were considering this fact of making Awolowo, that some Igbos were seen as some Igbos were seeing Awo as someone who doesn't love them so much, but some Igbo officers were doing it to give him that. We are basically thinking, it couldn't be, because if he doesn't love you people, obviously we don't believe you that you're going to go and do it and give him power. That explains two things. One, it means that the coup was ideological driven. They agreed and they believe in the ideologies of late Pa Obafemi Awolowo. They believed in his ideologies because Awolowo was ideological driven, surgical and precision in some of his, the things he did. So if they were this thinking, secondly, he confirmed the fact that he said before that Nzogu is Igbo by just name. Because Nzogu does not share the sentiment of his people that Awolowo didn't like them. So he doesn't share with that, he doesn't share in that view. Hence, he's gone ahead to say, we are going to plan this coup and we're going to get this man out and we're going to make him president. Because he's not attached to the East. He doesn't even know and understand much about the East. So because he's not in tune, because he does not see himself as Igbo or as an Easterner, he's not in tune with that. So these two things explains that this coup was not Igbo driven. Igbo did not have any meeting to say, we are going to have a meeting, we are going to kill Sadoana. It was his own decision. And the decision of some of them, including some of the Yorubas there. Sadly, the coup did not eventually. They planned it and it didn't turn out to, the way they planned it. Sadly, or I would say as fate will have it, the part that Nigerians don't want to talk about, Igbos stopped the same coup. Can you imagine that? Isn't that crazy? How can Igbos stop coup if they planned it? Let's make that. How would Emeka Odumegwu Ojukwu helped in stopping coup if it was planned by Igbo? Babangida went ahead to say this. The fact that these Igbo officers will do this to a man not known, again, not known to be a great lover. He didn't say he hates Igbo, but they know themselves not known to be a great lover of Igbo. May have given the coup a different ethnic coloration. But again, I may be wrong. I may be wrong here, since this view is speculative. I admit that my position here may be the naive insight of an unsuspecting officer who viewed event from a distance. Yes, he was a young officer, but the most Babangida then was a young officer, but didn't take part, but also probably was just basically, in his words, viewed it from a distance. Now, he continued again and said, my determination to make sense of the bizarre unfolding event was short-lived because I left for the United Kingdom barely days after the 1966 coup incident. Long before the coup attempt, I had been penciled down to attend the 4 months youth officer course at Saladin, Saladin Armored Car and Gunnery at the Royal Armored Center in Bovington, Dorset, United Kingdom. Saladin, a six-wheeled, 11-ton armored vehicle designed for the British Army in 1954 to replace the obsolete AEC armored car used during the World War II. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that is his experience there. Let me quickly find another place that he talked about something that is interesting and relating to the topic at hand. Relating to the topic at hand, quickly. Meanwhile, that's it's like I said, it's indeed a pity that that could happen. I can't stress that enough. If I were to be alive, if then and I heard them, anybody discussing about that coup, then I would say, people go and sleep, leave that coup. And one thing that coup did to us, it also helped. Nigeria went down, down the slope to a point that we now have cucumbers, idiots, and carrots now governing us, right? Because if we had left the caliber of Dr. Nanda Azikiwe, Awolowo, them, at that level, probably, when you talk about people, forgetting forgetting that at some point the shenanigans of Akintola, because at the end of the day, I mean, one point that we can't take away if you are conversant with the Nigerian history is that the Western region actually caused most of these things. The Western region then, when Akintola and the Bafami Awolowo were, doing their political rivalry and fighting, Operation Waitia. Operation Waitia is Operation Wet You. They wet you and put light. I just pour somebody gasoline and put light. It can, even if you think about these things, that's in 1965. That these things were happening. Crazy. Imagine today, PDP and APC fighting, and or Labour Party, PDP and APC fighting. You catch somebody who is a PDP person or APC person, you pop it through, you light that person. It's just insane. But imagine that these things happened over about 60 years ago. That's crazy. But it did happen. So these were the, then you have the TV riots that happened in the Middle Belt. These were the things that led to the army now seeing these things that they can surgically remove that. It brings me to something, maybe in conclusion here. The way we look at things, and it can, if you get into the heads of Major Kaduna and Zogo, you would understand that that same thinking is still prevalent in today's Nigeria. Quick fix. Quick fix. What led to that coup was a quick fix. Quick fix. I am convinced that had we allowed the First Republic to continue, we would have made mistakes. The politicians would have learned. Continue. Mistakes will be made again. By the time, because democracy, you build it. England is, how old is their democracy? It's hundreds of years. I mean, over time, things would have been institutionalized. The reason why the army is still mounting checkpoints on the roads today is because at some point their incursion into governance gave them the impetus to start standing on the road. Had that could not happen, had we not gone down that slope, Nigeria, I do believe, would have been, because the incursion of the army and the subsequent invasion of the political arena by cucumbers and carrots, idiots who are incompetent and not meant in any way, shape, or form to near office, rather than just come and to loot. I wouldn't give them names, I wouldn't name them. You know all of them. If not for military thing, how would in the hell would someone like Buhari would ever think of governing a city? Can Buhari ever talk when if we had the caliber of people like Awu or Zik or I mean talking, governing, you look at somebody who can't even calm down. I don't want to get anyway. Guys, let me do this. Chai Concept, thank you very much. Guys, you can support our channel, right? But let me quickly invite someone. If some of you want to have, before it turns out that I am the only one ranting here, let me quickly see if I can input um, the link to join me, because this one, I am doing a stream with a telephone, so you can actually join me. Let me input the link to join me here. Uh-oh, kilo happen. I don't even get the distance, sorry. What happened? Let me see if I can bring anybody in. Guys, thank you guys. Stop chat. What did I do? There is a way I can bring someone in. I thought I can bring. Why is that? Yeah, okay, yeah, I've seen it now. Um, yeah, so I can bring somebody in now. If you're following me on Twitter, if you go to my Twitter page, I think I just shared it now. Let me see if I can copy the link from my Twitter. Then I can paste it there if you want to join and make your contribution. What's happened? True talk. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate. So, you see, the bottom line is that we must, as a people, try as much as possible to, discuss these issues. You see, these are things we can't shy away from. If we have to build a nation where no one is oppressed, we have to speak about these issues. And in speaking about these issues, we must also blame. If the blame is on us, we'll say it. Nobody's going to kill you. If we're at fault, you say it. If other people are at fault, you say it. Nobody, it's not. You want to look at these things, nobody go do anything. No. Just that we have to keep saying these things. Again, now while I'm waiting, guys, sorry, are you not seeing the link? What's kilo happen now? Guys, like the stream, share and subscribe. Like the stream, share and subscribe, please. Let me keep trying and see if I will get this. I did send it to myself, but for some reason it didn't deliver. Okay. Yeah, I think I've got it now. So let me quickly put that in the comment section for those who are wishing to. He says, when has Igbo ever admitted their fault? Opening up. Guys, is on my YouTube this thing, right? You can grab it from there. I don't know what has happened, why I can't do this, but I'm trying. Honestly, I'm trying. Let me try once more. On the comment section, you see the link. Let me pin the link. You know, the pinned link. You can now use that pinned link to join me, right? Okay, you can use that pinned link to join me, guys. So, but if you're going to join me, please, 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 what we are going to do is we want to keep the conversation civil. I have tried, and I have tried since the beginning of this to, the conversation has been civil. Aside, when I lash out on those, there is no apology of calling them cucumbers and carrots. Those who have taken over power, those who have, you know, the glutinous ones who have taken over power and have nothing to offer, but just basically to water down the whole system and destroy things. You know, I see the comment by some people saying, when has Igbo ever admitted anything? That's by Mike Olawale. It's a sad one. I wouldn't indulge in that because, but I know I am Igbo, for instance, and I have said on this platform, maybe for over 200 times, that I think the 1966 coup was not necessary. The 1966 coup was not necessary. The 1966 coup was, I don't know, it set us back decades. Eventually, the fallout of that coup led to the war that eventually destroyed us the more. In hindsight, I wouldn't have not engaged in that coup. Nigeria would have learned, and like I said here earlier, we would have learned, we would have even, become better. Some individuals, because imagine where the fight between Akintola and Awolowo. In the subsequent election, there were men who were intellectually mobile that will eventually have taken over the space. People like Akintola probably would have been pushed aside. If you go down to the east at that point, you had you had men like Emma Akbara. I mean, you know, I don't know. If you are a non-entity, there is no way you can come close to where intellectual conversations or discourse is being done. And if people from the same region is saying these things, like myself, and you're saying, has Igbo ever apologized for it? I mean, this is that comment is not it, brother. I would say it's not cutting it, right? Please like, share, and subscribe to the platform. So for those who wish to join, you can see the link there. Click. Obviously, you already have an account. That's why you're able to join me here. Yet, let me show us something again quickly. I just remembered now. Let me show us something. If you go to if you go to if you go to Twitter now, you will see a lot of conversation that this has generated, and I'm liking it. Why do I like it? Because these are needed conversation. While I also appreciate the fact that what happened with Abiola sadly shouldn't have happened. You can imagine when someone has won an election, they had the result, yet the result was cancelled. And if I come to my brothers, if I come to us, I will say, when some of us also make this comment, the North, the North, the North, the Fulanese, I laugh. Because one, the person that cancelled the election is not Fulani. Babangida is not Fulani. Abacha is not Fulani. So why blame? I don't know how. I think we have to do a lot to learn about our geography in Nigeria. We have to do a lot to learn about our geography in Nigeria. Someone who was born in Kaduna, grew up in Kaduna, lived all his life in Kaduna, though his parents migrated from Okpanam, then Midwest region. The coup then was then blamed on another people. People, if that's if that's not absurd, I don't know what is absurd. It is. Well, listen, Olawale, he said most times you guys will say that it was a revolution. In their mind, if you watch the video by the person, the main lead, the gang leader of that coup, he used the word revolution. Do I agree with him? He used the word revolution. Go and fight with him. If he says it was a revolution to put Awolowo, your brother Awolowo wrote it here. Go and buy the book. Go help support his ministry. His book is here. Look, Awolowo book. If he wrote it in this book, that he believed that this man did this coup to get him out and make him the head of state, I don't know what else I have to tell you. My good brother Olawale. You see, I think we need to come down from our high horses, just like when people, Igbos didn't vote Abiola, Igbos didn't vote Abiola. And when you hear something, I'm like, do you know the part played by, even some people will be blaming Aton Zeribe. Hey, Aton Zeribe, Igbo man is the reason why June 12 was cancelled. The person who cancelled it, who sat on the result, told you yesterday, wrote it in his book now. And you see, some of you will keep still blaming Aton Zeribe. Late. 1993 coup. Already an adult. This election in Anambra, Abiola won. And when I say I like the result of the election, that is the way I want even us to be voting now. Because the margin, let me look at Anambra for instance. The margin is actually interesting. Anambra NRC had 159,258,000. The percentage of NRC vote was 42. SDP had 212,024, and their percentage was 57.1. Who won? Abiola. Then there was no Ebony. There was no this more decimation. There was no Enugu, no this, right? No, there was Enugu then, sorry. What's it called? Hold on. There was Enugu. If you see the margin of win, 42-57, if you ask me, that's the margin I would expect people to, because Nigerians, those that win election in Nigeria are sometimes idiots. Sorry. Sometimes they have cuckoo. Like Buhari, they have cuckoo in the head. so that you don't vote in a way, because it doesn't matter. Just like what Trump is trying to do to some state that didn't vote for him now, it is also in America because, obviously some things are not right. If you genuinely, if we are to handle election the way it is, when people don't vote for you, you try to woo them, be nice to them to extract their vote. I mean, it's just like when you go want to spin a woman for the first time, you say, "Oh, who be this one? It doesn't mean you go package yourself, go put on perfume, and come back, isn't it? And try your luck again. That's how it works. But in Nigeria, it's like the winner takes all. So if you don't vote for me, if I don't get 25% from you, that means I'm going to knock you down. I'm going to knock you out, Paco. The reason why Buhari went to America and they asked him a question, how is he going to treat the Niger Delta? And he started talking nonsense, absolute garbage. Oh, do you expect me to treat those that gave me 97% with those that gave me 5%? Mathematical nonsense, actually. 95 plus 97 plus 5 is 102, not even 100%. And that's and that's reflected in the way and manner he governed. So maybe when we begin to vote like this, so somebody cannot say we didn't vote for you. You give somebody 30% and the other person 65 or 70, maybe. And that is what I see. Because even when I see the winds, like the whole of the western region, the western states of Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Ogun, Ondo, Lagos, Abiola won them all hands down with an average margin of 80%, right? An average margin of 80%. In the southeast, you have about 51% in Enugu, Imo, 55% margin of win. So you can imagine where you have 55%, that means the opponent had about 45. So you see the split, almost like 50-50. Then you come to Kwara again. Kwara is 80.0% of margin of win. Kwara is considered southwest, even when it is in the north central, right? Then you now come to Jigawa. Jigawa actually did more than the Yorubas. The Jigawa gave him 80, what's it called? 60% basically, right? Gave him 89,000, 60%. So he come to KB gave him 32%. You know, why did I bring this up? It's just when I see people talk like Adewale, I'm like, guys, we need to the same thing, the same way I'm shutting this your thinking down. It's the same way I shut down the thinking of people of the Southeast saying, oh, the Yorubas didn't vote P2B. I say, are you guys, do you smoke Ganya or what? Why can't you say that the Yorubas didn't vote P2B? How did he win Lagos? What of the vote he got in the Southwest? Right? I mean, it's to be honest, it's unfair. It's, it's totally unfair to say that because they voted. They worked with us in the campaign. So I cannot be here to say that that didn't happen. The same way we must, and the same way I have said, that I do not believe, even agreeing that they want to install Obafemi Awolowo. I would have said they should not have done that coup. In the next election, when Awolowo comes out from prison, let him go again and contest. Not through shortcut, not through coup, or not through anything. And that's my standard, right? Mike Aloha said they want to put Ironsi coup on Nzoawu. How did Ironsi become president, by election or by coup? Sorry, sir. I don't know how old you are, but you're beginning to argue like a baby. A coup has already happened. Sorry, don't feel insulted, but a coup has already happened. The civilians are already out of fear, saying they are going to handle. Ironsi was at that point, the highest ranking officer. So they were afraid. Okay, Oga, we'll carry this thing, put for your table. Did Ironsi look at you as someone who wanted to be president? Sadly, he died early. If not, he would have written it. Some that were close to him. The last thing in his mind, because he's a jolly good fellow. He was a jolly good fellow who just want to enjoy his life within the army, junketing the globe, right? But when things happen, it was in his feet, and he had to, in his own thinking, he did what he thought was the best for the interest of the country. He did not contest to tell you, oh, I'm going to do this, is in my manifesto. You don't see? If you see what many of us don't critically think is actions and the chain reactions and consequences of some certain actions. I said I do not support the coup. The coup was not necessary. If that coup did not happen, the Ironsi you are now talking about should not have become head of state. If that coup, he was not part of the coup. He was part of those that crushed the coup. So I think some of us need to read more, to be honest with you. Antonio Okonta says Bashir Tofa was Bashir Tofa's VP was Igbo, yet the Igbos voted for Abiola Kingibe. I think the I think Sylvester Ugo was Tofa's VP, and he was former CBN governor, right? Sylvester Ugo. Let me see whether my brain don't do me karu, but I think Sylvester Ugo. Sylvester, I think from Imo State. Sylvester Ugo was former CBN bank, not CBN, Bank of Biafra CBN. Ha! Bank of Biafra, Bank of Biafra governor, Sylvester Ugo. I think he was the one. Yes, Sylvester Ugo was the vice presidential candidate of the National Republican Convention in 1993. Right? He was the former central bank governor of the Biafrans. And he was, so even at that, you can imagine if you calculate the whole vote by Igbo, they didn't just, you know, say he's our brother because he's from this, we'll vote for you. Anambra didn't care. Anambra, because I mean, Abiola played a very good politics of reaching out with his football. Anambra voted him. Abia voted Tofa. Abia voted Tofa. Abia had NRC had 151,227, whereas which is 58%, whereas SDP had 105,273. Now, to tell you that something is wrong with Nigeria, go back and look at election result. Hold on. Sorry. Go back and look at the election result. 30, 30, how many years? 30, 32 years after. The election result, 32 years after, hasn't actually, I don't know, something is wrong. Because the population as of 30 something years ago, we are not up to 100, I think we're about 120,000 or thereabout. Yet states were returning about 100, 200,000 voters. By now, that you should know that it should be about 400 or 500,000, and yet we are not able to punch and pull those numbers. Just opposing them to the 2023 election, even where some governors, some presidential candidates had near over 90%, yet the total numbers were abysmal. Then it means either the people have totally disconnected with anything called election, or there is a systematic, you know, imputation to suppress numbers? I don't know. I do not have the answers. But honestly, looking at the election result as was inserted by Babangida in his book that was launched yesterday, you would agree with me that that was a very good revelation that political scientists need to study the pattern of voting in there. Again, if I look at Bauchi, I think Bauchi returned the highest number of votes, which was turned to Tofa. Bauchi returned for NRC 524,000. Kaduna returned 335,000 to Abiola. So yes, similarly, almost countering the other one, right? So, and in Oyo for Abiola returned 536,000. So when you look at, oh no, I think sorry, not Bauchi. Bauchi returned the highest for Tofa, but for Abiola, the highest was by Ondo State. Ondo returned 887, close to a million. Jeez, 84% of the vote. That one was like, we know Sendo, 84%, right? So, guys, when we look at this, we can basically say that we wish that these military guys didn't strike. Let me take on some comment. Ironsi was marked to be killed in the first coup. Yeah, but Ironsi somewhat, he survived. I don't know. He survived. So Awolowo was in the room when they were plotting the coup. I'm sorry to tell you that coup was Ironsi. I think, sorry, brother, Dewale, you're really ignorant. Wallah. I'm saying, this book, I think they wrote it in Yoruba. So even if you think the one they have in English is not making sense, buy the Yoruba version. Yeah? So you go learn some things. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back, find that place now. This one I would do a screenshot of Awolowo's words. Then I'll post it in the community section. Right? Guys, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure that you all joined me today. Um, we will continue in this part of trying to get us know certain things with historical context. Certain things that happen. I mean, we can't run away from this. This is our history. The earlier we embrace them and look at it dispassionately, where we think things didn't go our way or things weren't that right, we should be bold enough to show them. Sorry, we should be bold enough to say them. But where we think that there is a deliberate attempt to actually, um, you know, manipulate or mess things up, because this issue of Igbo Coup was also engineered by the British. So, and obviously, people then didn't, when you were running now, you don't care much about what the people were talking about you. But we cannot, after 50 something years later, if not 60 something years, 50 something years later, we're still stuck in that loop of is Iboku, is Iboku, is Iboku. Come on now, we can no longer accept that, guys. There was a coup. There was a military coup. The military killed people. In my view, Sadwana shouldn't have been killed. In my view, the golden voice of Africa, Sir Amadu Bello, the best we had. Go on YouTube, watch his video. A man I admired. I was not born when he was killed, but I admire him till tomorrow. Because because of his motion, the motion pictures I've seen about him. When he came to America, see the way he was respected, addressed the Congress. Do we have any leader that can do that today? Or these ones that will be falling when they want to be this one that will be my fellow Nigerians? Is it the ones that will go and go and look at his diction? Is he someone who was packaged, trained to be in that position? Those who killed him didn't do us right. Those who killed him didn't do us right. Must be condemned. But in condemning them, it was a military exercise. I cannot, in the same breath, condemning those who gone ahead to kill him and now say, oh, those paid warped writers and agents who gone ahead to write this nonsense that this is an Igbo coup. We can't, I mean, I wouldn't be to the party that will accept that. Neither would I also accept that the coup was the military coup. It was a military exercise. The crushing was done by military, was also a military exercise. So why didn't we? Why didn't we, in the counter coup, call it Northern coup or on mid belt and coup? T.Y. Danjuma, where is he from? Is he not from middle belt? Yakubu Gowon, where is he from? Is he not from middle belt? Where is Taraba State? Former old Gongola, now in Taraba. Where is Plateau? So, and see how, sometimes also read what some of us write, that it was because of what they did in their role in that war. That's why their places is being overrun. You see, I do not think I will buy that narrative. However, what that tells me is failure in governance. During you know during I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I lost. I just read something, but I lost what I wanted to say. But pardon me on that. But anyway, at the end of the day, we cannot allow certain things to fly. We have to keep, they say, Bible says iron sharpeneth iron. We will keep, bringing some of these things to fore to the point that we will one day get to the bottom of some of these things. Guys, I appreciate you guys. We will keep hammering on this. Last week, I couldn't have my planned interview with Obaseki because moments before the interview was meant to happen, he fell ill and was actually hospitalized. So we thought when he stabilizes he could join, but eventually he didn't. So likely that meeting would either happen tonight, I'm yet to confirm, or tomorrow. But either way, we would keep you informed in the community section, right? Take the last two, comments. Then we'll call it a day. Child concept. I am always in the intermediate to also learn. Mazi is good at bringing intellectual discussion to the table. Thank you very much. I mean, at the end of the day, it's we should engage intellectually and not on mundane things, though. Not on who opunyash, who do Antonio Conta says the Yoruba caused the 1966 coup. They also, in part, caused the fall of Biafra. I wouldn't, again, I wouldn't say it that way. While I understand that the conflict in the western region of 1965, the Operation which is the fight between Akintola and Awolowo, where in some literatures are claimed to be some of the remote causes of what led to the coup. But to blame the Yorubas again is wrong. While Akintola and Awolowo gang groups, their talks were fighting, the whole Yoruba nation wasn't fighting, and the Yorubas didn't send them to go and fight. We have to be very careful here. The same way, Ndi Igbo didn't have meeting to go and tell Nzogo to go and do coup. These political gladiators were fighting, not the Yorubas. If we get these distinctions right, we must know. You see, until, for instance, when people say, what does Igbo want? I say, go and read the Ekweme Declaration of 2000, was it 2018? 2018, yeah. Go and read the Ekweme Square Declaration, where the whole Igbo leaders and thought assembled in Oka. Incidentally, the statement was read by Professor Chukwuma Charles Soludo. Then he was not serving anything. Then he was only the chairman of Ala-Igbo Stabilization Fund. Eventually, that the same position that Professor Charles Obu eventually took over from, right? I think the head of economics advisory to Ohanes or whatever. But so when people say, what does the Igbos want? I say, if you go and read that document, it's therein is contained in their demands and their charter of association in this union. So it is wrong. Now, if Ndi Igbo, as they have assembled, took a decision that day to go and attack Nigeria, you can now say that Ndi Igbo decided. But if one person, one, called other people, can I be that anything I do today is Ndi Igbo? It's effing Mazi Ezoka and co. Not Ndi Igbo. Live Ndi Igbo, live Ndi Yoruba on their listing. Because they hadn't. The Afenifere is, the face of the Yoruba hasn't gone anywhere to say, we support this, we issue a statement to support this. When the coup happened, did Ohaneze call Ifajuna to say thank you for doing what we've been thinking? No. It is unfair. It is, honestly, it is not fair. Hmm? You see, Micah Olawale, you're trying to be clever by half, but the more you say it, it doesn't even make sense. You wrote and I read. I never called it an Igbo coup. I call it a coup done on behalf of Igbo. Now, this is what I call silly. It's not an Igbo coup. Then, in that sense, if you want to bring that level of kindergarten logic, sorry, may I then ask you? So, the Yorubas didn't cause the coup, but the crisis in Western region was done on behalf of the Yorubas. Guys, Mike, I beg, calm down. You see, this spirit you have, there is not going to be any peace in Nigeria with this mindset, right? Calm down. Look at things dispassionately. You know, there is one. Look, I'm sitting down in my sitting room here. These are these are two books given to me. This book now, Managing Uncertainty, Competition and Strategy in Emerging Environments. This book is written by Professor Pat Otome. he autographed this book for me. So these are things I'm devouring here. See, autographed it for me. Mazes, okay, right? This is Awolowo's book. This is a book on my, just on my side table here. That when I sit down here without telephones, these are things I devour. And this is another book written by Professor Otumi. Power Policy, Politics and Performance. Professor Pat Otumi. Again, autographed by himself to me. So I believe the more you engage in intellectual stimulating activities, read more. Some of these level of argument you make will be actually very funny. Some of these arguments you make will be funny, Mike. But I'm engaging it. What it means here that on this platform we do not discriminate. We want every. In fact, I want if there is any way to pull the whole of Africa to this platform for us to keep having that conversation. As long as we're not insulting one another, just state your point. Then we'll counter it, or we agree. You'll be surprised that. If you say certain things that I think I agree with, maybe my views tomorrow will change, depending on how many books eventually I read, the things I will experience that will gradually begin to change my worldview. But in this case, my worldview remains fundamentally liberal, in thinking and in action. So, I don't I don't see it the way I don't look at it and I don't see it the way you're seeing it, my brother. Mike, Aja Uzoma says is laughable. My God, no, no, come on. Anthony says Mike can't or has no read about the 1966 coup, nor does he have the kind of intellectual Mike, what I would do, buy the book by Ademoyega, buy the book by Olusegun Obasanjo. I will recommend to you on YouTube alone, watch this channel. I think some of the videos he uploaded, Edmond Obilo, the guy that stresses his words when he talks, Edmond Obilo, this guy. Just because, reason why I haven't recommended any other person except the Yoruba so that you would understand certain things because this guy is one of my best here, Obilo, right? Obilo does exceptionally by the level of intellectual stimulating conversations that he have, and those who were active participants, especially in these, a very sensitive part of our Nigerian history. Okay, please, Mike says, please explain why the majority in the government were Igbo, but virtually everyone killed were non-Igbo. Okay. How do I explain that everyone in the government were Igbo? That is factually incorrect. You know why that is factually incorrect? In the West, in Nigeria then, in 1966, Nigeria was running a regional government, right? Nigeria was running a regional government. It was only the South, it was only the East that had a somewhat predominant, not even predominant, let's say 50% population that was Igbo. In the north, you had Igbos who were, in the words of Babangida in his book, he called them immigrants, like Nzogu's parents. In the West, you had people who were working, who lived there. You can choose to call them immigrants too, like in Lagos and Ibadan. Then the premier of Western region wasn't Igbo. The premier of Northern region wasn't Igbo. So when the coup happened, the soldiers themselves had in the regions people that they've set. I believe the mistake Nzogu made was to give Ifajuna the command to take over the East with its headquarters then or capital in Enugu. So when Ifajuna went to the East, already in the North, the Sadwana of Sokoto, who was the spiritual leader of the Muslim North, and the Prime Minister, then the Golden Voice, Tafawa Balewa. By the way, Tafawa Balewa is not Fulani. Tafawa Balewa, I think was it Anga or something like that, right? It's not Fulani. But he was a smart aleck. He was a smart man. Now, these individuals were killed in those regions. Nzogu, Ifajuna failed in the east in his argument because when remember, he ran. When he failed, he ran. I think he ran into Ghana or something like that. So when his argument is that the Emma Okpara was having a visit of an archbishop from the Greece or something like that, right? That he couldn't, that if they had struck, they would have killed the archbishop, which may have led a conflict with another country. So they waited. In waiting for the archbishop to leave, it appears he knew. He then got wind that this coup was happening, and now, boom. So there was no need. But in other regions, there were pockets of Igbos that were killed too. But because, it's just like Babangida wrote in Lagos, but it's irrelevant. Because this thing now happened, that the East, whether by coincidence or by anything, happened. So it was easier for people to believe that this is a regional coup. Even Babangida alluded to that. Two things. That you were telling people even in the planning, obviously at the beginning, because he said the original intention, meaning there was an intention of the coup before it happened. There was an intention. The intention was, guys, come now, man. These guys, they fuck up. Come, let's yank all of them. Let's kill these guys and get Awolowo because we believe he's the one that has the idea. It's just like when somebody. It's just like if let's take it critically today. Some people who believe in the concept of P2B, for instance, the way he says we need to save money, we need to do this, because P2B has an ideology like Awolowo. Awolowo had an ideology, and by constantly listening to Awolowo, you will begin to appreciate his ideology. If you look at the ideologies of Tinubu, for instance, constantly listening to him, you would think, what ideology is this man portraying? He's portraying the ideology of, oh, let us save money, but let me go and buy private jet. Let me go and buy beast. Let me go and do this one. Let's go and renovate this office with 5 billion. Do you understand? So he's not portraying that ideology of a nation that is in distress. Now imagine that we have a set of middle belt people who now sees P2B as, man, this is the only guy that can save this country. They go and plan a coup. In the process, they killed everybody, but some people in the middle belt were not killed. Would it then defeat the purpose that these middle belt military officers planned a coup? They did not get the authorization of the Middle Belt people to plan that coup. The Middle Belt people were not the ones that tell them to go and plan a coup. On their own, they did it. So why is it, what is so difficult there to understand? Explain how the majority of the officers in the army were Igbos. Man, okay, you know they read at all, sorry. You know they read at all. You knew absolutely nothing about the Nigerian army. The Nigerian army on that time it was on merit. They were recruited by the British. What do you mean? They were in numbers because those commissioned officers. Not be if you dey bush be hunter, they can't carry you. It can't be. It not be what would they do now. It's not what we did now. These were army officers recruited. If Arjuna represented Nigeria in the Olympics in Canada, he's an intellectual powerhouse. Um, the one you are cursing, Aguirre, headed the Nigerian this thing, and it was it in Congo or whatever, the Nigerian troop. So these were men recruited by the British, and they didn't recruit them because they were Igbo. They needed competent people when they were handing over. It's just like when people say, hey, why didn't Igbo live more in the north? When you listen to one of the Sadrana's video, when you say anything that wants to happen here, we must first take the Hausas, or no, the northernization policy, blah, blah, blah. Why was he saying that? Because when he came to things that had to do with, it's not about blowing a trumpet. At that point, my brother, when fair, if you want to compete on your intellectual ability to be taken, and the British were taking the best. Sorry. The best that they normally find were the Igbos. And sorry again, at that point, the military that they recruited, in the best of my knowledge, was based on certain criteria. And these were people who filled the criteria. So if they filled the criteria, then let me tell you, if this Nzogu, let me now, my last point to you, if Nzogu was actually tribalistic, he wouldn't have considered that coup. Because to your point, Ndibo were majorly in the army. So why would he do that to displace some people? But because he wasn't even thinking right. He was only convinced by the ideologies of Awolowo. That he was thinking, let me get Awolowo out, make him the president, then he can fix Nigeria. If he was thinking, oh, I am Igbo, actually, and whenever I look, now we the control, and so why would he leave? All these Babangida, the things he now wrote, he's telling you, is as of that time he was being sent to go and do training in the United Kingdom. Whereas these people were already done training and here, and they've been recruited. Read even in the same distance. Read how which military guy said it, that Gowon was actually the one that made them join the army. Who was that again? That Gowon was coming round in the north, you know. Look at, go and check the result that people used in joining the army. Buhari, your president, did not have any result. He joined the army with provisional result. It doesn't happen anywhere. Because if it was in the western or eastern, you know, old eastern region, you see people with straight A, and they want to join the army. But this one, what do you think? Provisional result, this guy is likely to have a C. He has likely to have a B. Just give him. Because as of that time, Nigeria was trying to balance. How do you think this issue of quota system and whatever came into be? It's just because in trying to build enough manpower quickly for the North. And actually, that's the same reason why when the southern Nigeria that comprised the southwest, that comprised the East and the West and Midwest tried to get independence in 1957, they couldn't, because the question was, okay, we want independence. Zeke and Dawo and Macaulay, them, everybody, okay, we want independence. Oh, this guy said, no, 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 we are not yet ready. Why? Because they do not have the manpower. The South had the manpower. Tell me one single person you ever had with your ear from the North that fought for independence for Nigeria. Tell me one single person that is from the North that you have read or heard that fought for it. But you hear about Macaulay, you hear Dr. Nanda Azikiwe, you hear Ziki's movement, you hear Awolowo, you see the things they wrote. Tell me that person from the corner that you ever heard. So honestly, your questions, I believe I'm trying to, address them, but in addressing them, I think my recommendation to you is that you need to read more. See, you're trying to avoid the question by responding to what a straw man argument. I don't understand you again. I'm not avoiding. Read the whole question. Okay, your question, sir. Explanation is laughable. That's your question. Then explain how majority of the officers in the army were Igbo, but how somehow all the officers killed were Northerners and Southwesterners. All the officers killed. All the officers killed. I'm not aware that the Kutiebo was an army officer. I'm not aware that the Sadona was an army officer. I'm not aware that the Tafa Balewa was an army officer. Oh, wow. Boy, on that note, I give up and I say, thank you very much for joining me, guys. I would want to always engage, but it's your point. Your point is when army officers. Please, can you name the army officers? Some officers who were in charge of, who were not in the planning of the coup, but were trying to obstruct the access to armories, were killed. It's simple. So tell me, please, can you name them? Just or Lawale, can you? No, it's not a laughing matter. You have a phone there. Can you name the officers that were killed? Can you name them? In this book now, let's begin to name. Let me get this thing again. Maybe you were not there. Well, I don't know whether now only Tinko Star book you they read, sir. Twinkle Star. How I wonder what you are. If I say that the kind book where they read, go and read proper book. I would have loved where because I can cite you. I have books here to quote for you. They say, give me a. Let me see. Army officers killed in the. Okay. Let me. Names of army officers killed in the 1966 coup. Army officers coup, right? Okay. So, what the people are now, Mike Olawale, I want you to. I'm waiting for you to come with, come to that. The officers that were killed, and when the Calter coup happened, that Ironsi was killed with his host. Why was that coup not also called a middle belt coup? Why? If it's going to make you feel happy and sleep well, please write your memoir. Tell your children and your next generation that the 1966 coup was an Igbo coup. It's going to make you feel better. Then that means no one will change your mind. But if we want to look at things dispassionately, irrespective of where you come from, just like I've said before, time and time again, not me. So many Yorubas have written books about it. So many Igbos have done. Obasanjo, I mean, a prominent one. Ademoyega, a prominent one. I mean, countless of them. Even Awolowo confirmed it before he died. So if all these people who were there, who were somewhat involved, knew all these things, then I doubt if you are that old to have been born when these things were happening. So it's a question of picking up books, be it audiobook, be it written text, for you to read and understand and comprehend about the things that happened in the past. It's going to really help. Honestly. Honestly, it's going to help. That's my final recommendation to you. You must not agree with me. Let's respectfully agree to disagree. On that note, I say thank you all for joining me. I am Mazin Ezoke. Please like, share, and subscribe.